With Stellaris 4.0 Phoenix being announced a week ago and the news about the pop group shaking the community to their core, it's important to note that whilst an important part of the changes, pop groups and logistic resources replacing trade aren't the only thing that will be coming to Stellaris in May. Precursors will change fairly drastically as well. The game setup scheme has been given some new UI work recently, and 4.0 is going to extend that functionality by allowing you to pre-select which precursor will spawn in the galaxy. In this image, that would mean that the Cybrex in the first leak will not be part of the party. They'll still spawn in their semi-random sections of the galaxy itself with all the relevant events clustered together. However, actively disabling precursors means that you'll have a better chance of getting the type of relic and rewards that you're looking for. Now, as mentioned, they'll still spawn in random areas, and I'm pretty sure that they don't spawn for the AI, which means that whilst you know which precursors are on the world map, you don't necessarily know where they are, which can lead to an interesting little chase around space, trying to trigger events, trying to take territory because, well, let's say that there is a dig site over there that you need in order to get that Ba'ul Gaia world generator or something along those lines. This may also be interesting for multiplayer, as disabling all but one precursor may start a run on space trying to figure out where all the cool stuff is, especially if it spawns something good like planets or relics, such as the Cybrex Ring and the Warforged, or maybe the Ecumenopolis for the first league. And I think this is a thing that has been coming for quite some time. There's tons of mods out there that allow you to pre-select your precursors, and I know that some developers are probably like, well, it's a random thing. It's something you have to deal with at the start of the game. But with the whole pre-selection stuff, considering how many precursors there are these days, it kind of makes sense within the grand scheme of things if you want to have to pre-configure your galaxy anyway. So there is some impetus to actually do this sort of thing, and it kind of does make sense within the grand scheme of things. But that's not the only thing. Have you ever played a 4X game and seen the in-game library, an overview of features that explains what's going on? Well, currently, Stellaris has something like that with the link to the wiki, which you can then access by clicking the question mark at the bottom right of the screen, and it has basically everything about the game right there. There isn't anything in place for the in-game. So there's no classic overview system that you would get in like your Civilizations, your Old Worlds, your Alpha Centauris, or anything along those lines. Now with 4.0, this is going to change with the addition of the Stellaris databank, which is an in-game library of features, functions, and descriptions on how things work. And you should be able to access these by using the highlighted words in the tooltips, which is a function that was added not too long ago. The thing is that at this moment in time, the way it's been described is that it only goes about the basic functionality. Like, what is energy? What is minerals? What are alloys? And that sort of thing. Or, how does pop growth work and that sort of stuff. What it doesn't really do is automatically fill stuff in as you discover it. It would be really cool to have like a roguelike element here where you can see that there is stuff to be discovered in the actual library, but you haven't ran into it yet. So it's something that you see in a lot of other games where sometimes you have these compendiums and you don't really see what is in the compendium until you've actively seen it. It would be really cool to see, to be in a situation where like, okay, I have now finally seen the brain slugs. They are now unlocked in the compendium so that I know how to deal with it the next time. It's also a sort of a meta game sort of experience there. Obviously, you could just trigger all the events by hand through console, so that could be a thing. But it'd be a fun little thing to do for players outside of the actual gameplay. A sort of compendium, collect them all sort of situation. Obviously, as this is a work in progress and it's going to be rolled out likely in May, it's not nearly enough time for any of this to be rolled out in a sufficiently interesting way. So for now, expect the basic terminology to be added to the game without going into much depth. So for instance, don't expect anything to be read about some of the very specific origins. You'll know what an origin is throughout the library, but don't know the ins and outs of the Ringworld start or anything along those lines, which is unfortunate. I do hope that we're going to see more of this and it's going to be expanded upon and have a little mini game. That'd be cool. I think that'd be really, really fun. Now, species modifications is also going to change. It no longer will require a project. Yeah, you can use a project in order to convert a species, spend some science, and have it done within a certain amount of time. However, you can now also opt in to make a certain subtype of a species the default one, and that will slowly over time change to that particular version. This may be quicker depending on what kind of building, civics, and policies and traditions that you're running. Very cool change. Something that has been coming for quite some time. Quite some time. I'm saying not necessarily for quite some time, but something along the lines of, it's cool that it's there because you're no longer wasting science on changing your species. Like what happened in the past is you wanted to change a single trait on one of your species and you'd be like, all right, guess I'll now have to spend 5 years of social science in order to change my species, whilst at the same time all of your other science are being held back and you're not doing anything with them, which I think was such a drag and it really slowed down gameplay. So having like this passive ability to do it slowly over time, probably over a period of like 50, 60 years. Once we get to the actual game, we'll see what the actual modifiers are and what the changes actually have been. Well, then we'll be able to take a look at it. There's also other changes to the interface, so you'll be able to see easier which of the negative traits are active. The positive traits, you no longer have this big-ass screen where you have to move through things. No, it's very similar to the Empire setup screen, specifically the species side, where there is the big row of negatives and the big rows of positives, rather than here's a big block of stuff that you have access to. So, that is a big bonus. It makes things a little bit more consistent, and I'm sure the UI department is like, oh geez, thank God that we're unifying some of these systems, because now we're no longer running with 3 different UI screens in order to deal with the same thing. And that kind of helps in the future as well in terms of making use of new things within the game. So yeah, that's really good. The ship designer also getting a slight rework with a bigger focus on the role system. For those of you who are not aware, if you build a ship, let's say you build a Corvette, you've got a little button at the bottom right that says roll, and you can make it sure that it's a brawler or it's a carrier or something along those lines, and it will generate the best possible version of that ship based on those parameters. That's going to be taking a bit more of a center stage thing, where you can you have your auto-generate ship, but you also have like, okay, I need a brawler. What is it going to be? So as soon as you select a ship, it automatically will pop up on this with the screen saying, what kind of ship design are you making? So, okay, I want to make a ship of the line destroyer. Cool. Here is a ship of the line destroyer based on these parameters and based on the maximum amount of technology that you have. Basically what it does right now is that if you auto-generate a ship, it will generate the ship with the best possible firepower, which means that usually you will have a lot of auto cannons on that thing, which is kind of useless, especially if somebody's pelting slugs at a certain percentage of the speed of light at you from the other side of the actual star system, which is problematic. So in this particular case, a little bit more flexibility. You want to engage at long range, it will generate the best ship for long range, or a brawler that will take something a little bit more short range-ish, and in that sort of way. Of course, for those of you who still want to generate the best possible ship manually, you can still do that. Personally, I usually don't really do it all that much. I like to do auto build anyway, because it just saves a lot of time, especially if I don't have the information that I need about the other empires. However, I've been dabbling with a lot of espionage lately, so that is changing a little bit, so we'll see. But sure, there's a lot of changes afoot with the ship designer, so a lot of cool stuff there. Let me know about what you think about what is here. The great Precursor rework, being able to spawn any precursor you want, obviously, anywhere on the map. We have the in-game library, the compendium, and all that stuff. That's really cool. The Stellaris databank, the species modification stuff, the ship designer changes. Let's hope they'll actually do something about the fleet manager, because, geez, that fleet manager is just so incredibly painful to me. But we'll see. Let me know in the comments below. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, take good care of yourselves. And as always, each other.